Hey everyone, welcome to another video. Today we're going to talk about issue number 2 of NYX From the Ashes, written by Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing and art by Francesco Mortarino. But before we dive into the story, I want to ask you a favor. If you enjoy this video, please leave a like and a comment to help the channel grow. So with that said, this issue opens right in the thick of action from the very beginning, for Laura, the Wolverine, dropped out of the sky and onto her unexpected target. Now with her claws embedding into his shoulder, our hero then turned her attention to the rest of the people before her, and with a determined look on her face, Laura told the two masked men to let the mutant team go. Because over 30 mutants disappeared off the street in as many days. And most of the missing mutants were younger, and if the Wolverine had anything to say about it, it would be that it ends tonight with her. So with that bit of background information, Wolverine ordered the men to let the girl go and to tell her who was behind all of this. But in a twist, the person Laura thought was in trouble started to speak and said they could take her in too, and all she had to do was ask, for these masked men were her friends. And as for where they were going, she was having them take her to a person named Local so she could thank him. Following that, we transition to Laura, who returned to her current base of operations in East Harlem. When we get there, we see Laura taking off her mask and favoring a different approach to dealing with this issue. Now, it didn't take long to find him, for he wasn't even trying to hide. If you know how to throw a midnight M, his world instantly becomes open to you. He's been here longer than the diaspora, living a mutant life out in the human world, using mutants, but for what? His trail led Laura to a metal door on a dingy street in Bushwick. And as Laura traveled, she entered the underground street club, and once in, a voice from the corner of the room called out to her and introduced himself as Local. So, with a face to the name, Laura wasted no time and opened dialogue immediately with him. The first thing he brought up was the fact that his people had been calling her the Wolverine. But quickly, Laura, for some reason, chose to say that was insane and then proceeded to tell him to call her Scratch. As a form of audition, Scratch placed her hand over a candle flame and allowed it to burn her flesh. Now, Scratch was offering this audition under one condition, and that was for Local to allow her to meet his boss. And just like clockwork, Local's phone went off as an incoming call from just that person came in. Now, as of this moment, the only name given to us for this individual is Mr. Friend. So, with that said, as Local walked away to take said call, out of nowhere, Kamala Khan walked up and started to talk with Scratch. Now, this right here was a surprise to Laura because, to the best of her knowledge, this place should be considered dangerous, but after further review, Laura noticed that the rest of Kamala's friends were also there having a good time too. Now, the purpose of Kamala walking up to Scratch in this situation was to ask if she wanted to work together because, as we all know, Kamala faced off against the Krakoan, and unfortunately, it wasn't a false flag operation. Because the Krakoan was an actual mutant with green telekinesis power. But in typical Wolverine fashion, Laura shoots down the idea and lets Miss Marvel know that she has no interest in working with a partner nor a team, and then she takes it a step further and tells her that she is better off fighting this war alone. Now following that, we fast forward a bit to Laura and Local continuing Scratch's audition, with her first test being her ability to steal the car. Now usually this wouldn't even be a challenge, but in order to make it look good, Scratch pretended to make it look hard, just in case someone was watching. And once the car was obtained, Local then told Laura that they were going to drive it out. Now usually driving in the city would be extremely difficult, but with the help of his abilities, Local was able to change every traffic light for miles in front of them to green. So with that being a success, the two mutants abandoned the car and made their way into the subway station. And once again, Local used his power to have the train meet them there, and as soon as they got on, the doors closed and it was back on the move. Now, when it comes to Local, the way his power is perceived is that he could alter the electrical base systems around him, which makes him perfect for controlling everything around him and eliminating surveillance equipment across the city grid. With that broken down, we then went on to the next test, which involved stealing something from ESU Science Center. Because this place was built by Orcus who used unpaid college labor to make all kinds of terrible things. The Essex building is a genocide in glass and steel, and the crazy part is that this place is backed by every security system ESU could buy. So anyway, once the two mutants broke in, Laura started to try to find out some additional information about Local's operation and asked how was they so organized. Because Laura learned that there were safe houses all over the city with good food and stolen PlayStations. Now, by all measures, Local was under the impression that he was doing a public service, but the trade-off was he was doing petty crime to get it. He was conducting a classic racket, exchanging safety for exploitation. So with that said, Scratch reached into the chamber and took hold of the object they came to get. And if Laura was being honest, she rather liked working with Local, for she had forgotten what it felt like to work like this, together with someone else. But as they went to exit the building, Laura and Local ran right into Prodigy. Now this prompted Local to ask her if she knows this guy, to which Laura responded by saying yes, and then continuing to tell Prodigy to forget everything he just saw there, for he doesn't need to be in their world anymore, and proceeded to run off. Now with the test passed and the task done, we then fast forward to Laura finally getting a chance to meet with Mr. Friend, and as soon as Laura entered the room, instantly she noticed something was off, because this Mr. Friend did not pass the smell test. Because in the air, Laura could smell formaldehyde, liming agent, chromium, and tanned leather. And with no provocation, this Mr. Friend admitted that he was going to use the thing they stole to lace the mutant growth hormone, MGH, in order to make the user hit like Juggernaut. Now with this out in the open, Scratch went into attack mode and was about to rush in, until out of the shadows from behind his puppet, emerged Mojo. So with the battle kicking off, during their interaction, Mojo states that he understands the mutant story arc of survival. The tragedy, the pain of losing their perfect little lives over and over again. Especially now that their brand synergy exercise is over and there are so many little ones on the street with no one keeping them safe. And all the while, they all are looking up to the friendly Mr. Friend, for someone needs to take care of the gifted youngsters. Now this right here caused rage to flood Scratch, so with a jab of her fist, Laura drove her claws into his head. But to her dismay, it did absolutely nothing. Because Mojo went on to break down how his reality is made by the beliefs of his viewers, which is where his lies meet their truth. And for now, he has a citywide audience of hopeful children, and Laura is just the mean old Wolverine. So to sum it up, the fight between them is just a numbers game. And just like that, Mojo blasted Laura at point-blank range and sent her flying out of the room completely cooked as Local looked on in surprise. So of course this prompted Local to ask what was going on, to which Lauren replied by saying he is not their friend, right before she exited through the nearest window. Because at this current moment, her best move was a tactical retreat, but in reality, Laura had so much fear in her heart that escape was her only option. And as she hid in the shadows, Laura thought to herself that every bit of belief mutants had in themselves and what they could build had been turned into power. A problem she just can't stab, and designed to make her feel hopeless, just like the kids Mojo collected off the streets every day. He wanted Laura to defeat herself. In fact, Mojo already believed he won. But Laura has been hopeless in the streets before, and because of that, she knows the way out. So as soon as Laura made her way home, she had no choice but to reflect on her defeat and rethink about what Mojo told her. For their battle was a numbers game, and the kid tried to warn her, but Laura chose to close her ears and tried it her own way. Because at first, Laura thought there was no choice, but there is always a choice, especially when the world wants you to feel unimportant, helpless, and alone. So between the lies they live in and the truth they make, the only way to move forward is together. And with that said, this issue of NYX comes to an end with Laura joining the fold. But anyway, down in the comment section below, let me know your thoughts about this issue and what predictions you could have moving forward. So with that established, I hope you enjoyed this video, and please don't forget to leave a like and a comment if you want to see more videos like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.